an unlimited pages original short story. She sat beside me every night. Some people enter our lives loudly, with introductions, with explanations, with enough warning to prepare us for what they might become. Others simply sit down beside us, and somehow change everything. Tonight's story is about two strangers, one train, and a warning that arrived one night too early. Now, turn the page. Marcus Ellison first noticed her on a Tuesday, not because she was trying to be noticed. She wasn't. She sat across from him on the 6:42 train, wearing a long camel-colored coat and holding a small black sketchbook against her knee. Outside the window, Atlanta disappeared beneath a curtain of rain. Inside, exhausted commuters stared at phones, answered emails, and counted the minutes until they reached home. Marcus usually did the same. At 34, he had perfected the art of being surrounded by people without actually seeing any of them. Work, train, home, dinner, sleep, repeat. It wasn't an exciting life, but it was predictable. And after the last few years, Marcus had learned to appreciate predictable. The woman across from him was drawing. Her pencil moved quickly across the page. She looked up, then down, up again, then down. Marcus glanced behind himself. There was nothing there except a window. He looked back. She was staring directly at him. Marcus raised an eyebrow. The corner of her mouth lifted. Then she returned to her sketchbook. Marcus smiled despite himself. 3 stops later, she stood. As the doors opened, something slipped from her sketchbook and landed near Marcus's shoe. "Excuse me." She turned. Marcus picked up the paper. "You dropped this." For the first time, he heard her voice. "Thank you." Warm. Soft. She took the page. Their fingers nearly touched. Then she stepped onto the platform. The doors closed. Marcus watched through the glass as the train pulled away. He didn't know her name. But the next evening, she was there again. Same train, same car. This time, the seat beside Marcus was empty. She walked toward it. "Taken?" Marcus looked at the seat. "No." She sat down. For several minutes, neither spoke. Finally, Marcus nodded toward the sketchbook. "You draw everybody?" "Only interesting people." Marcus smiled. "So that's why you've never drawn me." She looked at him. "I drew you yesterday." Marcus turned toward her. "You did?" She opened the sketchbook. There he was, sitting by the window. Tie loosened. Eyes somewhere far beyond the glass. Marcus stared at it. "You made me look sad." "You looked sad." "I'm not." She tilted her head. "Okay." Marcus laughed. "You're just going to call me a liar?" "I didn't say that. You didn't have to." She closed the book. "I'm Nia." Marcus. And just like that, Tuesday became Wednesday. Wednesday became Thursday, and Thursday became 3 weeks. Every evening at 6:42, Nia Brooks sat beside Marcus Ellison. At first, they talked about small things: bad coffee, Atlanta traffic, music. Restaurants neither of them had actually tried. Then the conversations became longer. Marcus learned that Nia illustrated children's books. She learned that Marcus was a civil engineer. He learned that she hated raisins but loved oatmeal cookies. She learned that he pretended not to like old romantic movies but could quote half of Love Jones. "You've seen it at least 10 times, Nia accused one evening. "Twice." Marcus. "3. She stared at him. "Maybe 7. "I knew it." He laughed. Marcus began looking forward to 6:42. Not the train, her. He started leaving meetings exactly on time, stopped accepting late calls. Once, he sprinted nearly 2 blocks because he thought he might miss the train. He made it just as the doors were closing. Nia was sitting in their usual spot. "You ran?" "No." "You're breathing hard." "Cardio." "In dress shoes?" Marcus straightened his tie. I take fitness seriously. She laughed, and Marcus realized something. He liked making her laugh, more than he should have. On the fourth Friday, Nia wasn't there. Marcus boarded the 6:42 train and looked toward their usual seat. Empty. He told himself it didn't matter. People had lives. Maybe she worked late. Maybe she took a different train. Maybe, you're staring at the door. Marcus turned. An older woman sitting across from him smiled. No, I'm not. You are. Marcus looked away. The train started moving. He pulled out his phone and pretended to read an email. At the next stop, the doors opened. Marcus looked up immediately. Nia stepped inside. He tried not to smile too quickly. Failed. She walked toward him and sat down. You're late. Nia looked at him. Did you miss me? No. Marcus. Maybe a little. Good. Usually, she would have laughed. This time, she didn't. Marcus noticed something else. No sketchbook. In nearly a month, he had never seen Nia board the train without it. You okay? Nia looked toward the window. I'm fine. Marcus waited. She didn't look at him. Nia. You're a terrible liar. That finally earned the smallest smile. Apparently, I'm sitting beside an expert. I've had practice. Her smile disappeared almost as quickly as it came. The train entered a long curve. Nia's hand moved to the edge of the seat. Marcus noticed her fingers tighten. A faint vibration traveled through the floor. Nothing unusual enough for anyone else to react. The passengers kept talking, scrolling, reading. Nia looked down. Marcus followed her eyes. You feel something? She didn't answer. Nia? I'm listening. To what? The train continued around the curve. Then, a sharp metallic sound came from somewhere beneath the car. Clack! Nia's head snapped toward the floor. Marcus heard it too. What was that? Nia stared toward the back of the car. I don't know, but the way she said it told Marcus something immediately. She did know. Or at least, she was afraid she did. The train straightened. The vibration faded. Nia released the edge of the seat. Marcus watched her. What just happened? Nothing. That didn't look like nothing. She looked out the window again. Marcus lowered his voice. Talk to me. For several seconds, Nia said nothing. Then she asked him a question. Have you ever known something was wrong? She paused. But nobody would listen to you. Marcus's expression changed. What happened? She shook her head. Forget it. Nia, it's complicated. We have 6 stops. That made her look at him. Marcus gave her a small smile. 5, if you're planning to abandon me early again. Normally, she would have teased him. Instead, Nia looked down at her hands. Marcus. Her voice was quieter now. Promise me something. What? Tomorrow. She hesitated. Don't get on this train. Marcus waited for the rest of the sentence. It never came. He laughed softly. Nia didn't. His smile disappeared. You're serious? Yes. Why? Just don't. That's not an explanation. I know. Then give me one. Nia glanced toward the passengers around them. I can't. Marcus leaned closer. Can't or won't? Both. He studied her face. This wasn't Nia being mysterious. This wasn't a joke. She was scared. Is somebody bothering you? No. Are you in trouble? No. Then what is it? Nia looked toward the floor. The train passed over another section of track. A faint tremor moved through the car. Her eyes followed it. Marcus noticed. This is about the train. Nia looked at him. She didn't say yes. She didn't have to. What do you know? Marcus. What do you know? I don't know anything for certain. Then tell me what you think. She shook her head. I shouldn't have said anything. You just told me not to get on a train I ride almost every day. You don't get to follow that with, never mind. I know. Then tell me. Nia closed her eyes for a moment. When she opened them, the train was already slowing. Her stop. She stood. Marcus stared at her. Seriously? I have to go. Nia. She stepped toward the doors. Marcus stood too. Nia, wait. She turned. Marcus gently caught her wrist. For a second, neither moved. Then he realized what he'd done and released her. Sorry. It's okay. The doors opened. Passengers began stepping off. Nia moved toward the platform, then stopped. Marcus. What? Promise me. He shook his head. I don't make promises without knowing why. Nia stared at him. There was something in her eyes now that Marcus hadn't seen before. Not just fear, something more personal. Then make this one because you trust me. The warning tone sounded. Doors closing. Nia. She stepped onto the platform. Tomorrow, Marcus. The doors began sliding together. Don't get on the train. Then she was gone. Marcus stood in the aisle as the platform slowly disappeared behind him. He looked down at the empty seat beside his. For the first time since he'd met her, Marcus wished Nia had left him one of her drawings. Anything. Something that could explain what had just happened. But there was nothing. Only an empty seat. And a promise he hadn't made. Marcus barely slept that night. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Nia standing on the platform. Don't get on the train. At 2:13 in the morning, he finally picked up his phone. He opened their message thread, typed 3 words. Are you awake? He stared at them, deleted them, typed again. Tell me why. Deleted that too. Finally, he put the phone down. Nia had asked him to trust her. The problem was, Marcus wasn't sure whether trusting her meant believing she knew something or accepting that she couldn't tell him. Saturday morning arrived gray and overcast. At 8:17, Marcus's phone rang. His sister. Don't forget Mom's boxes. Marcus closed his eyes. I didn't. You said you'd help me go through them today. I know. You sound weird. I'm fine. Marcus. Everybody in his life apparently knew when he was lying. I'm coming. He got dressed, grabbed his keys, and stood inside his apartment for several seconds. Normally, he would have driven to the station, taken the train downtown, then caught a ride to his sister's place. Marcus looked at his keys, then remembered Nia's face. Make this one because you trust me. He walked to his car instead. At 10:30, Marcus arrived at his sister's house. At 10:47, his phone buzzed. Then again, and again. His sister's phone sounded from the kitchen. Then the television interrupted the program playing in the background. Breaking news. Marcus looked down. A notification filled his screen. Commuter train derails outside downtown Atlanta. For a moment, he couldn't move. His sister came into the room. Marcus? He opened the alert. The 10:32 southbound train had derailed approaching an elevated curve. Several cars had left the tracks. Emergency crews were responding. Dozens of passengers were injured. Marcus stared at the first photograph uploaded from the scene. Twisted metal, broken windows, emergency lights. A train car tilted against the edge of the elevated structure. Marcus knew the line. He knew the curve. He knew those cars. His sister stepped closer. Oh my God. Marcus still couldn't speak. Because the photograph wasn't what frightened him most. It was the woman he'd left standing on a platform the night before. The woman who had looked him in the eyes and asked for one thing. Trust me. Marcus's hand tightened around the phone. Only one thought existed in his mind. Nia knew. Marcus called her, straight to voicemail. He hung up. Called again. Voicemail. Again. Nothing. Nia, pick up. His sister watched from across the room. Who is Nia? Marcus barely heard her. He opened his messages. Nia, are you okay? He sent it. The message showed delivered. No response. He tried calling again. Voicemail. Marcus grabbed his keys. Where are you going? I need to find someone. Marcus, wait. But he was already moving. He stopped at the door. His sister looked at him. What is going on? Marcus glanced at the television. Images from the derailment continued flashing across the screen. Emergency crews, passengers being helped from damaged cars, police surrounding the tracks. Marcus looked back at his sister. She told me not to get on that train. His sister stared at him. What? Last night? Who? Nia. The woman you're calling? Marcus nodded. She told me not to ride the train today. His sister looked toward the television, then back at him. How did she know? Marcus opened the door. That's what I'm going to find out. He drove toward the station. Traffic thickened as he approached downtown. Police had blocked several streets near the affected section of track. News vans lined the sidewalks. Marcus parked 2 blocks away and walked. The station entrance was closed. Yellow barriers stretched across the doors. Transit employees moved in and out while police directed passengers away. Marcus stood outside, scanning faces. No Nia. He called again. Voicemail. For the first time, another possibility entered his mind. What if she had been on the train? She had told him not to ride it, but she hadn't said she wouldn't. Marcus immediately opened the news coverage on his phone. No passenger list, no names, nothing. His pulse quickened. He approached a transit employee. Excuse me. Station's closed, sir. I'm looking for someone. If you're trying to locate a passenger, there's a number being established for families. No, she works. Marcus stopped. Did she? He knew she illustrated children's books. That was it. Nearly a month of conversations. And Marcus suddenly realized how little factual information he had about Nia Brooks. He knew she hated raisins. He knew her favorite coffee order. He knew she drew strangers when she thought they weren't looking. He knew she loved old bookstores. He knew she got off at Glenwood. But he didn't know where she lived, didn't know her family, didn't know where she had worked before becoming an illustrator. He didn't even know whether Nia Brooks was the name she published under. Marcus stepped away from the entrance. Then he remembered something. The sound. That metallic pop. Nia hadn't just heard it. She had reacted to it, before anyone else. Marcus looked toward the tracks. This is about the train. He had said it to her, and she hadn't denied it. Marcus looked at the transit employee again. I'm a structural engineer. The man looked unimpressed. Congratulations. Marcus ignored it. Who handles infrastructure on this section? Sir, I can't help you. There was a vibration before the derailment. That got his attention. What? I felt it yesterday. Marcus wasn't entirely sure that was true. He'd felt something, but Nia had been the one who recognized it. There was lateral movement entering the curve, and a metallic sound beneath the car. The employee's expression changed slightly. Who should I talk to? I don't know. You do. Sir, please. Marcus lowered his voice. Someone warned me not to ride this line today. The employee studied him, then looked toward a temporary operations area beside the station. Wait here. Nearly 20 minutes passed. Marcus considered leaving twice. Then a man in a reflective transit vest walked toward him. Late 50s, tired eyes, phone in one hand. You the engineer? Marcus Ellison. David Mercer, Infrastructure Operations. They shook hands. David looked toward the tracks. I was told you felt something yesterday. Marcus nodded. Entering the elevated curve. What exactly? Vibration? That's normal on sections of curved rail. This wasn't. David studied him. You're a structural engineer? Yes. Rail? No. Then how do you know it wasn't normal? Marcus hesitated. I don't. David waited. Marcus continued. But someone else did. Who? Nia Brooks. The man's expression changed. It was subtle, but Marcus saw it. You know her. David looked toward the station. How do you know Ms. Brooks? Marcus stepped closer. You do know her. Mr. Ellison? She told me not to ride the train today. David looked back at him. For several seconds, neither spoke. Then David sighed. Come with me. They walked away from the reporters. David stopped near a maintenance vehicle. You need to understand something. There is an active investigation. I can't discuss causes. I'm not asking you to. You are. Then tell me what you can. David looked exhausted. Ms. Brooks contacted the transit authority. Marcus's stomach tightened. When? 3 times over the last 2 weeks. About what? Track behavior along that curve. Marcus stared at him. What did she say? She reported unusual lateral movement, increased vibration, said it seemed to be getting progressively worse. And you ignored her? David's jaw tightened. We didn't ignore anything. Then why is a train lying on its side? I said there's an investigation. You said she reported it 3 times. Maintenance inspected the section. And? Where was identified? Marcus waited. David didn't continue. And? It wasn't classified as requiring immediate closure. Marcus looked toward the blocked station. They were wrong. David didn't answer. That silence said enough. Marcus thought back to the previous evening. Nia gripping the seat, listening, watching the floor, the metallic pop. Tomorrow, Marcus, don't get on the train. How would she know what she was feeling? David looked at him. What? She told me she's a children's book illustrator. She is. Then how does a children's book illustrator recognize abnormal rail movement? David looked genuinely surprised. She never told you? Told me what? David paused. Nia used to work here. Marcus said nothing. David continued. She was a transportation design technician. Marcus stared at him. Here? Several years ago. What did she do? Supported station renovation and rail improvement projects, field documentation, design coordination, inspections. She wasn't a track engineer, but she spent enough time around infrastructure to know when something didn't feel right. Marcus looked toward the elevated tracks. Suddenly, Nia made sense. The way she noticed everything. The way she listened before she spoke. The way she had reacted to a sound most passengers barely noticed. She hadn't predicted the derailment. She had recognized the warning signs. Why did she leave? David's expression softened. You'd have to ask her. Marcus pulled out his phone. Still nothing. Do you know where she is? No. Do you know if she was on the train? David shook his head. I don't. Marcus's chest tightened again. He called, voicemail. David watched him. You close to her? Marcus almost laughed. He didn't know how to answer that. We sit beside each other on the train. David waited for more. Marcus looked down at his phone. Every night. David gave him a small nod. Marcus walked away. For the next 2 hours, he searched. Hospitals had begun receiving passengers. Marcus checked every publicly available list. No Nia Brooks. He called again. Nothing. He searched her name online. This time, he added the words, children's illustrator. There she was, a photograph from a local bookstore event. Nia, smiling, holding a children's book she'd illustrated. Marcus stared at the picture longer than necessary. At least now he knew she was real. The thought made him feel ridiculous. Of course she was real. But after everything that had happened, part of him needed proof. He scrolled farther. Another article. A community arts event. Another bookstore appearance. Then an older result. 5 years earlier. A transportation planning conference. Marcus opened it. A group photograph filled the screen. Near the edge stood a younger Nia Brooks. Same eyes, same smile, different life. Underneath the photograph, Transportation Design and Community Infrastructure Panel. Marcus leaned back in his car. You could have told me. His phone rang. Marcus grabbed it. Unknown number. Hello? Marcus? He closed his eyes. Nia. Where are you? Silence. Nia, where are you? I'm okay. Where? Another pause. St. Catherine's. Marcus's heart dropped. The hospital? I'm not hurt. Then why are you there? Nia exhaled. Some of the passengers are. Marcus started the car. Stay there. Marcus, don't leave. You don't have to come. I'm already coming. Marcus, what? Silence. Then softly. I'm sorry. He stopped. For what? I should have told you. Marcus gripped the steering wheel. Yes. Her voice broke slightly. I didn't know if I was right. Marcus looked toward the distant tracks. Nia. Yeah? You were. Neither spoke. Finally, Marcus said, Stay there. This time. She didn't argue. The hospital was crowded when Marcus arrived. Families filled the lobby. Televisions showed continuous coverage of the derailment. Nurses moved quickly between hallways. Marcus scanned the room. Then he saw her. Across the street. Not inside the hospital. Inside a small coffee shop facing the emergency entrance. Nia sat alone near the window. Her black sketchbook rested on the table in front of her. Marcus stopped. For several seconds, he simply looked at her. She was safe. That should have been enough. But it wasn't, because now Marcus knew the truth. Nia hadn't guessed. She hadn't had some impossible vision. She had noticed something everyone else missed, reported it, waited, reported it again, and when nobody listened, she warned him. Marcus crossed the street. Nia looked up through the coffee shop window. Their eyes met. She didn't smile. Neither did he. Marcus opened the door, and for the first time since he'd met her, he wasn't wondering what Nia was drawing. He was wondering why. Out of every person on that train, she had chosen to save him. The bell above the coffee shop door chimed as Marcus stepped inside. Nia watched him cross the room. Her hands remained wrapped around a cup she didn't appear to be drinking. Marcus pulled out the chair across from her. He sat down. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Marcus looked at her. You knew. Nia lowered her eyes. I suspected. You knew enough. I didn't know it would happen today. But you knew something was wrong. Yes. Marcus leaned back. The answer should have made him angry. Instead, he felt something more complicated. Relief, fear, confusion, and underneath all of it, gratitude. Why didn't you tell me? I tried. No. Marcus shook his head. You warned me. That's different. Nia looked toward the hospital across the street. Ambulances continued arriving. 3 reports. Marcus said it quietly. Nia looked back at him. You know, I talked to someone from infrastructure. Her expression tightened. Who? David Mercer. Nia looked down. Of course. He told me you used to work for the Transit Authority. Nia nodded. 5 years. You told me you illustrated children's books. I do. You forgot to mention the part where you know enough about rail infrastructure to predict a derailment. I didn't predict anything. You told me not to get on the train. Because I was scared. So was I. I know. No, Nia. Marcus leaned forward. You don't. His voice wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. I watched the news and thought you might have been on that train. Nia's face changed. I called you over and over. I'm sorry. I checked hospitals. Marcus. I searched your name online because I realized I didn't know where you lived, didn't know your family, didn't know anything except what coffee you drink and that you hate raisins. Nia almost smiled. Marcus didn't. I thought you might be hurt. Her smile disappeared. I'm sorry. This time, he believed her. Marcus looked down at the table. Why didn't you answer? My phone was in my bag. For hours. I was helping. Helping who? The passengers. Nia glanced toward the hospital. When I heard about the derailment, I came here. Some people were brought in without family. I helped make calls. Sat with a woman until her daughter arrived. She paused. I wasn't thinking about my phone. Marcus nodded slowly. That sounded like her. Of course it did. He looked toward the sketchbook. You really were one of them. One of who? The people who worked on the system. Nia leaned back. Not the way you're thinking. Then explain it. She took a breath. I studied transportation design after college. I wanted to help build things people depended on. Why'd you leave? Nia looked toward the window. For several seconds, Marcus thought she wouldn't answer. Then she did. Because I got tired of being the person in the room who noticed things nobody wanted to hear. Marcus said nothing. Nia continued. Most of my job wasn't dramatic. Reports, drawings, field notes, coordination, checking details. She smiled faintly. I was good at details. I've noticed. Sometimes that's useful. Her smile faded. Sometimes it makes you difficult. According to who? People who don't want another question. Marcus understood that more than she realized. She traced one finger along the edge of her coffee cup. A few years ago, I raised concerns about a station renovation. Nothing catastrophic. Just shortcuts I didn't like. Materials being substituted. Inspections being rushed. What happened? They fixed some of it. And the rest? I was told the risk was acceptable. Marcus looked at her. I hate that phrase. So do I. She gave him a tired smile. I left a few months later and started illustrating. I'd always drawn. Nia touched the sketchbook. My grandmother used to tell me that if the world wouldn't let me build something beautiful, I should draw something beautiful. Marcus smiled. I like your grandmother. You would have loved her. Something about the way Nia said it told Marcus her grandmother was gone. He didn't ask, not yet. What happened with the train? Nia's fingers stopped moving. The first time I noticed it was about 2 weeks ago. The vibration? She nodded. Very slight. Most people wouldn't think anything of it. But you did. I knew that curve. I'd ridden it hundreds of times. She looked at Marcus. Every piece of track has a rhythm. Marcus nodded. Buildings did too. Bridges, structures, machines. Everything behaved a certain way until something changed. The next night it happened again, Nia continued. A little worse. So you reported it? Yes. And they inspected it. They told me they did, but you kept feeling it. Every night. Marcus thought about their conversations. For 2 weeks, Nia had sat beside him, laughing, drawing, talking about movies, while quietly listening to the floor beneath them. Why didn't you tell me? Because I didn't want to scare you. You were scared. Exactly. Marcus shook his head. That's terrible logic. I know. When did you realize it might actually fail? Friday. The sound. Nia nodded. That metallic pop wasn't normal. What did you think it was? I didn't know. A fastening component. Rail movement. Something shifting under load. But you thought it was serious. I thought it was serious enough that I wasn't willing to gamble. Marcus leaned forward. With me. Nia became still. There it was. The question he'd been carrying since David told him she'd filed those reports. Why me? Nia looked away. Marcus waited. Nia. She looked back at him. There were dozens of people on that train. I know. You could have warned anyone. I know. You could have told the whole car. I should have. I'm not asking what you should have done. Marcus's voice softened. I'm asking why you looked at me. Nia's eyes filled. She looked down. Marcus didn't interrupt. Finally, she spoke. Because every night. She stopped. Tried again. Every night I told myself you were just a man I happened to sit beside. Marcus watched her. And then I started checking the platform for you. A small smile appeared through the emotion. I knew what time you'd walk through the doors. Marcus smiled too. I started noticing when your tie was crooked. You could have told me. I did. You insulted me. I corrected you. Marcus laughed softly. The tension between them loosened. Only a little. Nia continued. I knew when you'd had a bad day before you said anything. Her voice became quieter. I knew you always moved your bag before I reached the seat. Marcus hadn't realized she noticed. I knew you pretended to read emails when you were waiting for me. He looked embarrassed. You saw that? Every time. Marcus shook his head. Nia smiled. Then the smile faded. And Friday night. When I heard that sound. She swallowed. All I could think about was you getting on that train the next morning. Marcus looked at her. Nia's voice cracked. I couldn't stand the thought of it. Silence. The sounds of the coffee shop seemed to disappear. Marcus could hear the faint television behind the counter. Cars outside, an ambulance in the distance. But at their table, nothing moved. You could have told me, Marcus said. I was trying not to make this. Nia gestured between them. Something. Marcus looked at her hand, then at her. How's that working? A tiny laugh escaped her. Terribly. Marcus smiled. For the first time since the derailment. So did she. He reached across the table. His hand stopped halfway, giving her the choice. Nia looked at it, then placed her hand in his. Marcus closed his fingers around hers. Warm. Real. Safe. He exhaled. Nia noticed. You really thought I was on the train? Yes. I'm sorry. I know. I should have called. Yes. I should have told you everything. Definitely. She smiled. Are you going to keep agreeing? For a while. Nia laughed. Marcus looked at her. There it was again. That laugh. The one he'd started running 2 blocks in dress shoes just to hear. Except now he understood why it mattered so much. He wasn't simply looking forward to seeing Nia every evening, somewhere between Tuesday and Friday, between bad coffee and old movies, between drawings and train stops. He had started falling for her, and apparently, she had been falling too. Nia squeezed his hand. Marcus? Yeah? There's something else. His smile disappeared. What? Nia reached for her sketchbook. She opened it, turned several pages, then slid it across the table. Marcus looked down. It was him. Not one drawing, dozens. Marcus sleeping against the window. Marcus laughing. Marcus reading. Marcus looking at his phone. Marcus staring outside. Marcus holding a coffee cup. Marcus with his tie crooked. Page after page. Different nights. Different expressions. All him. Marcus slowly looked up. Nia. She looked embarrassed now. I told you I draw interesting people. Marcus turned another page. Another drawing. He smiled. Apparently, I'm fascinating. Don't ruin the moment. He laughed. Then he reached the final drawing. It was unfinished. Two people sitting together on a train. Marcus. And beside him, Nia. He looked at her. You drew yourself. Started to. Why didn't you finish it? Nia looked at the page. I didn't know how the story ended. Marcus stared at the unfinished drawing, then closed the sketchbook gently. Maybe you weren't supposed to yet. Nia looked at him. Marcus slid the book back across the table. Maybe we're still drawing it. For a moment, Nia said nothing. Then she smiled. Not the playful smile from the train, not the nervous smile from earlier. Something softer, something Marcus hadn't seen before. Hope. Outside the window, another ambulance pulled away from the hospital. Marcus looked toward it. The day could have ended very differently. For dozens of people. For him. For Nia. He tightened his hand around hers. Come on. Where? You've been sitting here all day. Marcus. Have you eaten? Nia hesitated. He stood. That's what I thought. She looked up at him. Where are we going? Somewhere without trains. That made her laugh. Marcus held out his hand. Nia took it. They walked toward the door together. For the first time since they'd met, there was no 6:42, no stop approaching, no warning tone telling them their time together was almost over. Tonight, neither of them had anywhere else to be. The investigation lasted 6 weeks. Investigators eventually determined that accelerated rail wear, combined with a compromised fastening assembly, caused the derailment. Nia's earlier reports became part of the investigation. Procedures changed, inspection requirements changed, people were held accountable. Thankfully, no one died. But Marcus couldn't stop thinking about how close it had been. How easily one ordinary Saturday could have become something else, and how one woman had noticed what everyone else overlooked. During those 6 weeks, something else changed too. Marcus and Nia stopped waiting for 6:42. They had dinner, walked through Piedmont Park, spent Saturday afternoons wandering through bookstores. They argued about movies, discovered restaurants they had spent weeks talking about, but never actually tried. And Marcus learned something important. Nia was even more interesting when there wasn't a train announcement interrupting her. One Saturday afternoon, they visited a small bookstore where Nia showed Marcus the first children's book she'd illustrated. Marcus picked up 3 copies. Nia stared at him. You don't even have children. Investment. In what? Your inevitable fame. She rolled her eyes. Marcus picked up another copy. Marcus. What? Put it back. No. Why do you need 4? Retirement. Nia laughed. That's not how books work. You don't know that. I'm literally the illustrator. Conflict of interest. She shook her head and walked away. Marcus bought all 4. Another evening, Nia took him to her favorite coffee shop. Marcus took one sip of the drink she ordered for him. He frowned. Nia watched him. You hate it. No. Marcus, it's... He searched for the right word. Interesting? You hate it. It's terrible. Nia laughed so loudly that the woman at the next table looked over. Marcus smiled. There it was again. That laugh. The one he'd once sprinted 2 blocks in dress shoes to hear. Only now, he didn't have to wait until 6:42. One Sunday evening, Marcus and Nia sat on a bench overlooking the Atlanta skyline. The sun had nearly disappeared. Buildings glowed against the darkening sky. For once, Nia didn't have her sketchbook. She sat with her head resting lightly against Marcus's shoulder. Neither had spoken for several minutes. It wasn't uncomfortable. They had reached the point where silence no longer needed to be filled. Then Nia lifted her head. Can I ask you something? Marcus looked at her. Depends. On what? How embarrassing the question is. Very, Marcus sighed. Go ahead. Nia smiled. Then her expression softened. Why were you sad? Marcus's smile faded. What? The first day I drew you. He remembered immediately. You made me look sad. You looked sad. I'm not. Okay. Marcus looked toward the skyline. You remembered that? I remember most things. I've noticed. Nia waited. Marcus rubbed his hands together. My mother died 2 years ago. Nia said nothing. Marcus appreciated that. No immediate apology. No attempt to fill the silence. She simply waited. She used to call me every evening when I got off work. He smiled at the memory. Every single day. What did she want? Nothing. Nia smiled. Sometimes she'd call just to tell me what she cooked. What did she cook? Everything. Marcus laughed softly. But Sunday dinner was serious. How serious? You didn't make plans on Sunday. Understood. Didn't matter if you were busy, didn't matter if you were tired, didn't matter if you were 34 years old and had your own apartment. Nia laughed. You showed up. You showed up. His smile slowly faded. After she died, I kept reaching for my phone when I got off work. Nia's expression changed. For months. Marcus looked down at his hands. Sometimes I'd actually pull it out before I remembered. Nia slid her hand into his. Marcus looked at their hands. Eventually, I stopped doing that. He paused. But evenings got quiet. Nia leaned against him again. Marcus rested his cheek lightly against the top of her head. Then one Tuesday, Nia smiled. Oh, here we go. I met this woman on a train. Was she beautiful? Marcus considered it. Nia lifted her head. Excuse me? She was okay. Nia hit his arm. Marcus laughed. She talked too much. Wow. Always drawing people. Sounds annoying. Very. Nia started to pull her hand away. Marcus held on. But... She stopped. Marcus looked at her. She made the evenings less quiet. Nia's expression softened. Marcus squeezed her hand. And after a while, he smiled. I stopped thinking about who wasn't calling. Nia's eyes filled slightly. She leaned forward and kissed his cheek. Neither said anything else. They didn't need to. 2 months after the derailment, the train line reopened. Monday evening. Marcus stood on the platform. 6:41. People surrounded him. Some looked nervous. Others stared at their phones as though nothing had happened. Marcus understood both reactions. A train approached in the distance. Its headlights grew brighter. The familiar sound of wheels against rail reached the platform. Marcus watched it come closer. For the first time, he understood why Nia listened so carefully. The train stopped. Doors opened. Passengers stepped off. Marcus didn't move. Not immediately. He looked inside. Same seats, same windows, same fluorescent lights. Everything looked ordinary. That was the strange thing about places where something terrible almost happened. Eventually, they became ordinary again. Marcus stepped aboard. He walked through the car, then stopped. Their old seat, empty. Marcus sat down. He looked toward the platform. People continued boarding. No Nia. He checked the time. 6:41. He smiled. Don't start. The man sitting across from him looked up. Excuse me? Nothing. Marcus looked back toward the platform. 6:42. Still no Nia. The warning tone sounded. Marcus's smile disappeared. Of course, life didn't arrange itself perfectly just because you wanted it to. Maybe she was running late. Maybe she'd changed her mind about riding again. Maybe... The doors began closing. A hand appeared between them. The safety sensor triggered. The doors reopened. Nia stepped inside, breathless. Marcus stared at her. She saw him, and smiled. Nia walked toward their seat. Marcus looked at her. You ran? No, you're breathing hard. Cardio. In heels. Nia sat beside him. I take fitness seriously. Marcus laughed. She leaned back as the doors closed. For a moment, neither spoke, just like the first time. Then Nia reached into her bag. Marcus's eyes narrowed. No. She pulled out the black sketchbook. Hold still. Oh no. Marcus. You made me look depressed last time. You were depressed. I was contemplative. You were sad. There's a difference. Nia opened to a blank page. Her pencil began moving. Marcus tried looking over. She turned away. Stop cheating. It's my face. It's my drawing. Technically, I should receive royalties. Marcus. Fine. He leaned back. The train began moving. Buildings drifted past the windows. People talked. Phones rang. Someone laughed at the other end of the car. Marcus listened. Normal sounds, ordinary sounds, beautiful sounds. He looked at Nia. Her eyes moved between him and the page. What are you drawing? You. Again? Yes. Why? Nia smiled. Because you look different. Marcus became quiet. Different how? Her pencil continued moving. Happy. Marcus looked away. He couldn't stop himself from smiling. A few minutes later, Nia stopped drawing. She studied the page, then tore it carefully from the sketchbook. Marcus immediately became suspicious. Should I be worried? No. Last time you gave me something from that sketchbook, my week got complicated. Just take it. Marcus accepted the page. He looked at the drawing. Two people sat beside each other on a train. Marcus and Nia. He recognized it immediately. The unfinished drawing from the coffee shop. Except now, it was complete. Marcus looked at her. You finished it. Nia nodded. I figured out how the story ends. Marcus looked back at the picture, then turned it over. 3 words were written on the back. Same train tomorrow? Marcus smiled. That's your big message? Answer the question. He held out his hand. Pencil. Nia gave it to him. Marcus placed the drawing against the sketchbook. Underneath her question, he wrote, Every night you want. Nia read it, then looked at him. That's a long time. Marcus handed the pencil back. I'm counting on it. For once, Nia had nothing clever to say. She simply looked at him. Marcus looked back. The train continued through the city. The world outside the windows kept moving, but neither of them seemed to notice. Nia leaned toward him. Marcus met her halfway. Their first kiss was quiet. No applause, no music, no cinematic sunset waiting outside the window. Just 2 people, sitting in the same place where something ordinary had slowly become something neither of them expected. When they separated, Nia smiled. You know I'm still drawing you. Marcus looked at her. After that? Especially after that. He laughed. She rested her head against his shoulder. Marcus looked down at the drawing in his hands. Same train tomorrow? Every night you want. He folded the page carefully, then slipped it inside his jacket. Years later, Marcus would still have that drawing. By then, the paper would be softer around the edges. The pencil lines slightly faded, but the words on the back would remain. And whenever someone asked Marcus and Nia how they met, people expected some grand story. Marcus could have told them about the derailment, about the warning, about the reports nobody took seriously enough, about the Saturday that could have changed everything, but he rarely started there. Instead, Marcus would look at Nia. Nia would already know what he was about to say, and sometimes she'd roll her eyes before he even said it. Marcus would smile, then he'd tell them the truth. She sat beside me every night. Because in the end, the train wasn't the most important part of their story. Neither was the accident or the warning. It was something much simpler. Two people noticed each other. Then they kept showing up, night after night, conversation after conversation, until an empty seat stopped being just an empty seat. It became a place beside someone. And sometimes, that's how love begins. Not with fireworks, not with perfect timing, not with some extraordinary moment. Sometimes, it simply sits down beside you. The end. This has been an Unlimited Pages original short story. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe to Unlimited Pages for more original stories filled with mystery, suspense, romance, and unforgettable moments. There are always more stories waiting to be told. Until the next one, turn the page.